Hello, teaching community, teachers, how are you? Welcome back to Teachers Help Teachers. I'm Esther Yun, your host today, and with me is my guest host, Peter Rosenstein. Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Peter, thank you so much for being here. I just want to tell our audience who you are. You've taught for 17 years, and within the 17 years, you've been in the classroom and then out of the classroom in an administrative role, correct?
Yeah, I was a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then after serving in that capacity, you came back to teaching, and you teach upper grade at the same school that I teach at.
Yeah.
And yes, you were elaborating earlier how you love that rapport and the interaction with the students. And tell us more about that. How's it going, especially during remote learning?
So what I had mentioned earlier to you, and I'll share with the audience, is I knew being out of the classroom that it was not my place. My passion is definitely being with the kids in the class. I like the upper grade kids. They tend to get my jokes, and I could do a little. I feel I could do more with them. That I'm better serving that group than any other. One thing that I have found that has served me really well in this time of quickly learning distance teaching is something that I always held dear in the classroom, is building that rapport early on in the year, building those relationships with the kids and really building that trust. So much so that, when we check in our daily class, you know, there's always a good 5 minutes of how everyone's doing, just to check in, making sure everyone's up to speed, whatever issues have been going on at home, something with a brother or sister or mom or dad. We talk about that and we kind of flush those things out, and it's really good. And then we're prepared to dive into the work.
And that's great. So what you established, that rapport and relationship before school closing, has, I guess, easily transitioned and carry on to
Absolutely.
remote teaching. So what a testimony to you, Peter,
No, thank you.
and connecting with your students that deeply, that profoundly. So thank you, and your students are blessed to have you.
Oh, thank you.
So Peter, I invited you here because I want to explore more and ask you about TAs. Quite recently, I believe, at our school, and I'm sure many other schools, we were asked about how we want to use our TAs. And honestly, for me, I didn't know how to answer that question. I'm here just trying to figure out how I'm going to get my lessons and assignments and activities to my students. I couldn't even think about another thing such as using my TA. But I heard through the grapevine that you do use your TA.
Quite a bit.
And I heard
Yes.
that teachers use their TAs from tech support to small group support. So Peter, how do you use your TA?
She's exclusively used for small group. We, again, like my students, I also feel strongly about building rapport with the professionals I work with. I have an absolutely amazing TA. She's in school right now. She wants to be a teacher. She is well on her way. She has incredible amount of teaching skills that she's bringing to the table already. So fortunately enough, having the upper grade EL block of kids, I was blessed to having a TA for 45 minutes to an hour a day. So it was a significant amount of time in the classroom, and it allowed us to do breakouts for where I could work with the EL kids and she could help. And I have a small group rotation that we did in the classroom. She helped with one of those small groups. So she got to interact with basically all the students. So she knew everyone, she knows everyone. And she was, able to onboard very, very quickly because she has also built those same relationships with the kids. and they trust her
So,
as well.
so yeah, that makes sense to me. But how do you, in this time of remote learning, how do you then do that with your TA? What
Okay.
apps are you using? What technology are you using to continue that kind of instruction?
Okay. So my schedule revolves around Monday, Wednesday, Friday is direct instruction model where I'll teach lesson or a couple of lessons, usually a mini math lesson and then a language arts lesson. Tuesday, Thursdays, I just do drop-in sessions and check in. Sometimes parents come to it. So
Is,
the Tuesday, Thursdays are a little less structured.
is it Zoom when you check
Uh,
in?
Via Zoom, yeah. All this is via Zoom.
Okay.
Daily lessons are posted in three places. I actually posted on Google Classroom. That's where the most detailed instructions are. That's where the kids access. The parents, we use Class Tag, similar to Class Dojo. It's basically a messaging app. We just use it for the messaging back and forth. And then I also send out the daily agenda via email
Mhm.
to all the parents. I have a parent group. So the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the core instruction is where my TA comes into play. So usually Sunday afternoon when I'm all done with my planning, I'll send her the lesson plan, the rough lesson plan for the week for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and with expectation that that's going to change
Mhm.
as things
We know
happen. And
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
So we have that. So also Sunday, I'll send her the link for the Zoom, so she's ready to log in. And I don't preset the breakout groups. I find that I have trouble with that because not the kids aren't always super consistent about showing up.
Sure.
Um, so um, I usually go through the math lesson first, and then I use the breakout rooms within Zoom. So when she comes in, I set her as a co-host. So she has all the abilities. She'll sit through my lesson first to kind of see what I do to build on what I do. I also use her as a second set of eyes and ears because a lot of times when I'm teaching the lesson, I'll be working on the notebook. I use a projector. And sometimes the kids are busy goofing off in the background and I can't always pick up on everyone. And I hear her go, "Hey, cut it out." And, she
Nice.
keeps be sure that they're staying on track. So that really helps quite a bit. So after the first part of the direct instruction, when we're getting ready for practice, that's when I'll set up the breakout rooms, and I'll send usually I send the higher group to her, and I keep the lower group, um, so she could kind of monitor them and guide them and help them along. They need a little less support. The kids that need more support stay with me. Um, so we'll do a breakout. As part of that breakout, I usually send her a problem set, 4 or 5 problems. And then right before we break out, I just say, hey, let's just do like 1 through 5 or 1 through 4 on the problem set. Or, it looks like they got, number 1 good. Let's just do 3, 4, 5. So wherever we're at based on the lesson, I'll send her with that into the breakout room. While she's in the breakout room, she
Is it through
uses
chat, Peter? Is it through chat where you're refining these directions to her, or are
uh,
you
um, usually just straight with voice.
okay?
So everyone else is muted, but she's not muted. So they don't know the problem set. So I'll just say, hey, let's just do 3, 4, and 5. I think they got it.
Got
Kind
it.
of build some.
Nice.
Sometimes I do that anyway. It just kind of helps build the confidence in the kids. They're like, oh yeah, we got it already. So they feel pretty good. So we'll move on.
So I heard you say make your TA a co-host.
Hmm.
Use her or him as another set of eyes as you carry on your direct instruction.
Absolutely.
Um, and then break out into the breakout room. Don't set it in advance because you don't know who's going to show up.
Yeah. I mean, if I knew I had a regular group of kids that were there every single time,
Mhm.
um, I probably would because I know the kids who need the most support, and I would tend to keep those. And I mean, you could preset it, but then when you go to do the breakout, if they're not there, they just wouldn't be there. But I like to keep it a little bit more fluid in the
Sure,
minute.
sure.
So
Those are great tips so far. And so, Peter, you mentioned that you communicate with her weekly, Sunday night. You're messaging her or emailing the plans in advance. So, um, I could imagine that there's a sequence of events, right, for this to all happen. Planning, you touched upon that. Communicating, you did that as well. You're communicating with her at the beginning of the week and during each Monday, Wednesday, Friday session.
yeah,
Um,
and in
like,
between also, so also on Tuesday and Thursday, Tuesday before the Wednesday lesson, I'll update her, and then again Thursday before the Friday session.
so you're talking to her throughout the week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And then that the Monday, Wednesday, Friday where you're executing or where she's executing your plans in the breakout rooms and during the whole group session. Um, then there's the follow-up, right? Where you would I would assume ask her, how did it go? What do they need more? what
hmm
what do you need more? Is there something I need to clarify? When does that happen?
So I like to keep it tight. So right at the end of the session, as the kids log out, we have the protocol that she stays in the Zoom. So all the kids have exited, and just like you and me are talking on Zoom, I'd
Mhm.
talk to her and say,
Got
you
it.
know, who got it, who didn't, and I'll just go down my checklist. Near the standard, not near the standard, based off of what we talked about. Um, and then say, okay, maybe next time when we do the breakout group, I'm going to send the same kid to you so you could build on what they've already done, because the lessons build on each other anyway. So
Yeah.
that way she could work strategically with those kids, and I adjust the groups based on that information.
So, Peter, before we wrap up here,
Yep.
are there any tips that you can pass on to the teaching community about TAs?
My biggest tip would be just open the communication, and just make it clear what your expectation is. I know before my first session, I just invited her to join and watch my lesson,
Okay.
and watch the flow. When I use the different tools, um, the whiteboard, or using my Elmo projector to show how I take notes, or how I screen share to go online and go to Google Classroom, whatever app we end up using for that day. She was able to see that, and if she wasn't sure how to do it, we would debrief at the end of that first session we did. She's very tech savvy, so she was okay and quick, and got it.
Let's give her a
Um,
shout out. All right, Miss Alonzo.
Yay! Yeah,
Um,
she's awesome.
that's a great tip, Peter, for invite your TA to observe a direct lesson, observe what you do, what apps you use, how you conduct
Yeah,
your instruction. I think that's a great way to start.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And again, just reminder, make them a co-host. They have they could mute anyone, they could kick people out if they need to, they could turn off their video
Yeah.
if it's needed. Fortunately, we hadn't had to do that yet, but that's, if someone's being super disruptive, and
Mhm.
they can't control their microphone properly, or they're playing on the video, and we get a lot of dogs and cats and baby brothers and sisters joining the videos, so
Yeah.
a lot of times it's like, okay, could you shut that down for a minute and
Sure.
come
Sure.
back when you're ready? So she helps quite a bit with that.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, she's
Peter,
awesome.
you gave us some really great suggestions and a great place to start. Um, and I hope that many of us now understand how to use that great resource out there. Our TAs, they want to help, they want to be there for us and with us. And so thank you, Peter, for this again, and thank you for your time.
Sure. And if anyone has additional questions, I can leave my email with you, and feel free to pass it on to them. Or if you want, I could even give it now, and they could send questions. And
I can do that. I can put it on the description. Is that okay?
That's fine. Perfect.
Okay.
And
All
if
right.
you have questions, just send it to my LUSD email, and I'll don't mind answering it.
Thank you, Peter.
Sure, of
Thank
course.
you for
Thank
your
you, Esther.
Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.